Welcome back to the Breaker Bros, and tonight we're going to do our reaction to the Browns game and our prediction for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. So starting off, what is your initial reaction to the Browns game?
We finally pulled one off. I think the Bengals have been the better team for at least a year, right? So I mean, it was just kind of like a meat and potatoes game, right? You just go out there and you're the better team and you win. The injuries are kind of scary. I feel like we jinxed them, right? Because we went through the injury report. We're like, oh yeah, nobody's hurt. We're in good shape. And then like everybody got hurt on the first play.
Well, they said
For the receivers.
Higgins got hurt in warmups, but I feel like they probably knew about it, but apparently something happened in the warmups or whatever, and then of course, I think whatever happened to Boyd was more of like a freak play type deal. Because
Yeah,
apparently
I mean, you saw the play because the guy came in and tried to break up the pass and caught him on the hand or whatever.
Yeah, but apparently, it was pretty serious. It was like a dislocated finger, and I guess it apparently possibly broke skin or whatever. But he had to have.
Oh, compound fracture.
Yeah. So like, it's one of those things where I guess he could be back, but I anticipate him missing maybe a week, possibly two. I think the main thing is probably getting our starters back for the people that did get hurt more recently by Bills, I would say. But I would say in general, overall, I like this was a game where I felt like play calling on the offense and defensive side were actually pretty good. I mean, I think on average, like we don't really worry about the defensive side because I think we just really trust Lou. It's just more on the offensive side where we're kind of like we have a lot of ups and downs and stuff like that. But I think we're to the point where I think it's the situations where when you get asked the same question over and over or taking the same test over and over, you're eventually going to know the answers. And I think that's just at the point where we're at with our offense because, like,
yeah, that was a very like British soccer analyst way of explaining it.
Well, it is
They
because
keep asking the same questions and they finally come up with the answer.
It's what it is because like we were struggling early on because like I do think a lot of it was the offensive line and what we're asking them to do was a bit different than what they were used to do as far as like the new offensive line pieces. Now they're like adjusted, and I think we kind of found our strength. Like we're actually pretty strong in some run situations, but what it comes down to and what I'm talking about is the cover two, and it was one of our former coaches. I actually watched one of his YouTube videos. I think he was maybe possibly the running back coach, but I feel like it's Casey something. I feel like I'm going to mess his name up anyways, but he had a pretty good in-depth analysis about like Burrow and stuff. But basically what it comes down to is that I think we're to the point where just based off positioning and what plays that we're calling, like there's options that we can go where you're going to go either over the top or in front or whatever. But we've seen so many different options that Burrow sees based off the position where the receiver is versus like the coverage. He knows where to throw. So like he just, as long as he's processing and he understands like what coverage that they're going to drop into, he's most likely going to throw it to the right option. It's basically what I'm getting at. It's like because we've been through all the questions, right? We've seen all the different options. So I think what's going to happen is maybe over the offseason, the defensive coordinators are probably going to have another wrinkle maybe going into next year. But this year, I think we've seen all the different options. I'm sure there's going to be something we haven't seen maybe in the playoffs, but there's going to be a handful of plays where we're not going to be like, it's going to be more of a surprise. But this was a game where I felt like, okay, offensive, defensively, we were just like on top of our game when it came to play calls. Because that flea flicker,
Yeah.
I mean, holy moly!
Did you see Joe Goodberry's video on that?
I think so.
Where he like broke it down and he showed like they kind of set that play up earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess they ran a few plays where they had Irwin like block the safety and they just ran it, and then of course like they fake the handoff and then Irwin goes at the safety and then the safety tries to avoid him is going after the running back and he just ran right past them. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like last season, the play calling always had like one big play, some kind of weird trick play that was like a big touchdown pass usually. And kind of went away for a little bit this season. But the past few games, I feel like they've had some kind of, you know, wrinkle, to use your terminology, where like, they just fooled the defense. Like last week, or no, was last week Kansas City? Yeah, last week was Kansas City, right?
Well, last Sunday was Browns, and the week before
Well,
that,
the week before the Browns was Kansas
yeah,
City,
yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So that pass where they threw it to Chris Evans, right?
Yeah.
That I felt like that was kind of a trick play, or not. I don't know. Trick play is the right. Wrinkle is probably the right word.
It was a
And
wrinkle
then they did
because
it.
they put the where Evans was so open, they put
Chase in the backfield.
yeah, Chase in the backfield, yeah. And then they had
Yeah,
Evans like kind of he was actually on the outside, but it was kind of like a bunch that they had to the right. But yeah, he just kind of got lost in the
yeah,
shuffle.
yeah. Right. They had like all three guys kind of mirroring each other, and then he was the shallowest guy, which is like, I mean, it worked perfectly, but like you even like it because he's gonna have space, right? Because the defense is gonna be focused on the goal line, but you give it to a running back with a little bit of space, you like their chances of being able to, beat the one-on-one and get into the end zone. And I guess he didn't have to do anything; he just walked right in.
Yeah, because
But
they
and then the flea flicker was gorgeous.
yeah.
I mean, it was like
Did you see
perfect
the end zone
throw.
view? I think the Bengals on their Twitter and Facebook account they posted the actual highlight from the end zone.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that. Is it
Oh,
good?
yeah, it was so beautiful because the safety, right? Because like you said, they set him
Yeah,
up. You could just see the moment where like he bit real hard on the fake, and
yeah.
then as he sees the ball go over, you just see like you could just see like his soul lift his body because he looked over his head. He just did that turn where he was like,
Oh no.
yeah, there's nothing. Like he just knew there's nothing you could do because he was already
I
20
bet you.
yards down the field, like in the end
I
zone
bet you. I
practically.
bet you they're throwing it to that one guy that's been blocking me. Damn
Yeah,
it.
no, like you just watch him like he does like like he
Yeah,
watches the ball and as soon as he turns around, you just tell he knew he was screwed at that point. Like
yeah,
he was just uncovered. Like it was just a busted play.
yeah, yeah. So have we been showing the Gambletron stuff?
The Gambletron?
Yeah, like what's on my screen now?
Not right now, but I can show it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, just to wrap up talking about the game, because
Sure.
my feeling. So the thing I like about this is, it's supposed to be like based on like the live odds. They try to predict like the win probability. I don't know all the details of that algorithm. I just like the name of it, Gambletron 2000. And it shows kind of like the win probability of the Bengals, and it kind of fits with our impression of it. It was like they took the lead, and like the Browns really never threatened to win, according to like their algorithm or whatnot. So it was kind of a steady game where the Bengals took control and never gave it up. So exactly what you want to see, playing an inferior opponent. So um, the other thing is, do you wonder about like, I mean, we're talking about like things being shook up, right? Like how the Bengals, it took them a while to adjust to people playing cover two, and now they've kind of figured it out. Having watched the game, how long do you think it's going to take before Watson and the Browns offense figures it out?
Yeah, actually, I did want to say something about that. I know people were saying Watson had well, they said that he played better than his first game because he looked horrible coming back the first
Yeah,
game.
I don't have a feel for how he played his first game.
But in terms of this past game, he wasn't like efficient in terms of passing, right? But however, I thought he played better than what I thought he did. But because there was a lot of plays where I felt like we probably should have had like 3 or 4 sacks, but he
Yeah,
just found a way to extend it.
hmm
So
he's
I
a good
think,
player. I always worry about him being. Well, I'm not worried about it, but I always thought of him as like, is he like an empty stats guy? Like good stats, bad team kind of guy? Because I mean, the year he had a year with the Texans where like he like threw for an ungodly amount of touchdowns and only had like 4 or 5 interceptions. They threw for like close, at least 4,000 yards, maybe even 5,000 yards. But they had a very bad record, and you just wonder.
I think that was
I
his
just
last year.
wonder.
Yeah.
I
Like
just wonder. It's just like how do you do that? Like how do you put up such good numbers, but like the team's record is so bad?
well, I think he's a good player, but keep in mind, like, I think the team that they have right now, the Browns, wasn't necessarily built around him. Like,
Yeah, well, that's the weird thing about it is like they're gonna have a hard time building that team, right?
no, it's gonna. The thing about the
Because
NFL is that you can turn around really quickly. So I think they'll figure it out.
if you have draft picks,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, a lot
and
of
then
what they're
if you
gonna.
have, so usually if you don't have draft picks, you have salary cap space, right? But they're not gonna have either, because like his money doesn't hit this year, right? His salary is like 1 million or something,
Well, yeah, you're
and
right.
then
It's
like
next
it
year.
jumps up next
They
year.
they created a core though, right? I mean, they signed Ward to an extension, Njoku, I'm pretty sure, and then Chubb. I mean, Chubb. I mean, he could fit pretty much on any team, so that's not a bad. But and then Watson, right? And then didn't they? I feel like they Cooper. I feel like they re-signed. Like they took on his contract, but I don't think it's like a long-term one. I think he might have one more year or whatever. But yeah, no, they invested, and then their Garrett. I think he's still got like 3 or 4 years left on his contract. That's probably takes a bit of the salary cap. So
Yeah, yeah,
they
it'd
pretty
be
much have their
interesting
core.
to be interesting to see. It might be more Rams than
Well,
like a normal build.
what I noticed was that I think he may present more problems than especially in like the Burrow era more problems than like Lamar Jackson. Mainly because I don't see Lamar Jackson being on the Ravens long term to begin with, but if he was, even if he were to stay, because Watson's an interesting mix. Is that he's very elusive, but he's also like, I think once he gets back to like the rhythm of the NFL and like up to speed and everything, like he's gonna make some plays down the field, and he did already a few times like in the game, but they're gonna be more drastic. But you can just tell it's gonna. This is basically like his preseason, right? He's going to use this as his preseason, and I feel like he'll be more caught up to speed next year when he has a full offseason. And then they're going to draft around him and do more things in the offseason to kind of give him that support. But I do think we will have to like draft to kind of like play against that. And I do see areas where we probably need to get a little bit more athletic, especially when it comes to like the pass rush, because we're going to have to deal with that twice a year. And that actually kind of brings up my next point is that what I notice when it comes to Burrow, most of his negative plays comes within our division. Like think about most of the sacks, most of the interceptions, most of the tip passes are usually within the division, whether it's the Browns, Ravens, or Steelers. Just like a weird side note.
I just think it's a coincidence.
Well, no, but it makes sense because your division's
it-
most likely going to draft to compete with the other teams within the division, right? That's usually how it goes.
I just think it's like two people. It's DJ Watt and
Garrett.
Miles Garrett. I mean, they're like a few of the best players in the NFL.
And then I feel like someone on the Ravens also had like quite a few tip passes as well.
Yeah, I can't remember. But I mean, and part of that is just the weakness of the offensive line. They try to get it out fast, and if you've got really athletic defensive linemen who are good, then they look out for that and they try to bat down passes.
I'm actually really glad that you said that because
Me too.
well, no, because there was a play and I should have time stamped it, but I'm pretty sure it was Volson and I think it was Miles Garrett. But it was one of those plays where we got the ball out quick and then Miles Garrett jumped in the air. And then I'm pretty sure
Him in the nuts?
no, he pancaked him. He just picked
good.
him and threw him on the ground. I was like, oh man, I should have like I was gonna
Yeah,
like
you should. Yeah,
send
'cause
that to you.
I've been pissed at Bolson for a while, so
I mean, supposedly from what people are saying and like grade wise, like he is getting better. I mean, he's not like
yeah,
an
you'd
all pro
expect him to be
guard,
better.
but he's
No,
what we
no.
need for, I mean, he's definitely like basically what we need him to do is what he's doing. So like he's playing a average or maybe a little bit slightly above average at times,
Mhm. Yeah.
and that's all we need really.
Well, I would. I mean, it'd be nice to have an excellent offensive line, right?
I think that will come. I think
Okay.
because what we do on the offensive line is not necessarily well. I guess it's true with any team is that you have like a scheme or whatever. And
Mhm.
and again, I think when you're taking like basically everyone from the left guard over are all new, right? You have a rookie, which is
Yeah.
a task in itself, but then Karras and coming from the Patriots, and then you have Capo coming from Tampa, and then Collins
Mhm.
coming from Dallas. We're all asking them to kind of play a little bit different than what they're used to in terms of like how you need to position yourself and block and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I
No,
can
I
see
mean,
them
there's
gelling,
definitely a learning curve. Um,
and that's kind of like another thing. I feel like Karras is actually kind of like he might be like my unsung hero of the year because like it's been a while since we really had that stability.
we're giving out awards.
Not really. I mean,
I didn't know.
well,
I
I
didn't
mean,
know.
we're towards the end of the year, and I was kind of thinking about it, but
Yeah.
like,
Okay. Well, I got one. I got one
sure,
too.
what's that
Okay. Mike Hilton,
for unsung
unsung
hero?
hero
I,
of the
I
year.
I can see that.
I mean, that guy's a beast.
Yeah,
It's just he's either coming after your quarterback or your tailback. I mean, he's got like just a knack for timing things, and then he's fearless. You know.
yeah, I like his attitude because I want to say earlier in the year he tried to tackle Chubb low and he jumped over him,
Hmm.
and then just this past weekend I think Chubb tried to do the same thing, and he grabbed his
Hmm.
legs, and it was like one
Hmm.
of those things where he just grabbed him and kind of like hung on and pulled him down, and he only got like a couple of yards, and it was just a really impressive play because like
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Chubb
he did
runs
some
over
of that
people,
against
and Mike
Derrick
Hilton,
Henry too.
right? Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's just
He's fearless. No, that's a phenomenal pick. I was kind of worried because it seemed like early on there was like a play where he like kind of hurt his knee or
yeah,
something, and then but it seemed like he finished the game too, so he came back in,
yeah. He came back in, so
which was
I
impressive.
hope he's good. All right, you want to talk about playoffs?
Sure. You want me to pull up your
Okay,
screen?
yeah. So the odds have improved dramatically according to 538, which we've been using. I don't know if it's a perfect predictor or whatnot, but we've been using it all year and talking about it, so you can kind of see trends, right? And you know, well, 0-2 when I was panicking, right? Our playoff chances were 13%, I think, something like that. But now
Yeah,
we're at like 97% to make the
playoffs.
playoffs and all the way up to almost 40% to win the division. So things are looking up. And then even the probability of winning the Super Bowl, 7%, which is amazing considering week 3 before the game we were worried, oh, are we even going to make the playoffs? So this is kind of, I guess, this is where we thought we would be. Definitely
Right.
not the route we thought we would take to get there, but definitely you win 5 games in a row, it makes your outlook improve, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then it I think our probability is really high too because I think some of the fringe teams, especially in the AFC, a lot of them tend to play each other. So
Hmm.
like they're essentially going to knock themselves out one way or another.
Yeah.
So like but I want to say like we just need to win one more game and I think we pretty much clinch. It's like we unofficially clinch. Like things still have to play out. But it's essentially like I said, a lot of the fringe teams in the AFC, what they're gonna do is they
Hmm.
play each other. Um, but and I know this was kind of like I think we are going for the number one seed. I think that's the best path. I mean, until it's like gonna like impossible to get, I think that's something that we should definitely try to pursue and kind of go for the flow.
Well, I mean, the next 3 weeks will dictate that. I mean, the only team, well, the two teams have better records than them, right? Just looking at this, it's not necessarily ranked according to record, but I think that's right. That the two teams ahead of them are the Bills and the Chiefs. I don't think anybody else has 10 wins yet. Um, they've already beat the Chiefs. They play the Bills, so they have the tiebreaker against either of those teams.
I saw
And
that
then
the
the Ravens.
Chiefs have the easiest remaining schedule, I think, but
mm,
they still have to play the Seahawks, and I think that's their most likely potential for
uh,
another loss.
yeah,
And
I
then,
think it
of course, we
shows.
pretty much have to win out the Bengals, obviously. But say if we do win out, and then they lose to the, did I say the Eagles? It's the Seahawks.
Yeah,
The Chiefs play the
they play
Seahawks.
Houston this week, which is not a good team.
No, yeah.
Then Seattle, then Denver, who
Denver
is
had a
not a good team, but a good defense. So
well.
you
Denver
never
almost
know.
they were playing really close. They almost pulled the upset. It was really close until the end. I feel like,
hmm
um, but I feel like the Seahawks have the best chance to possibly pull off that upset.
So the Chiefs finished with Denver and then the Raiders. So yeah, I
No,
mean,
they
they do
literally
have
have
the
the
inside
easiest.
track. I mean, the Bengals still have Buffalo
Because the
in
thing
New
is
England.
that you get that number one seed, and then you're basically forcing Buffalo to play the Chiefs. Plus, we get the first round bye, and then that means that the first team that we would play would be at home, and you're playing like what, the Titans, Ravens, Dolphins at home.
Yeah, maybe the
Number one seed
Patriots,
is so appetizing right now, and
the Chargers. So I'm just looking at people
possibly
in the
Chargers.
AFC
Chargers
that
would be, yeah, it'd be one of those four
decent
teams. I feel
playoff.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be, in my opinion, it'd be Ravens,
hmm
Chargers, Dolphins.
Chargers lit us up last year.
Yeah, but we still almost had a chance to win. I
Yeah,
feel
at
like
the
at the end,
end, but
yeah.
that was not a fun game.
But in a way, I feel like the Chargers kind of regressed a little bit from last year. Like they don't. It doesn't feel like they have that like kind of like we had that last year, that little surprise element, like because like our QBs were kind of like young, or I guess what we were able to do, we haven't really shown everyone. Same thing with the Chargers,
Yeah,
but
I
defense was
mean, I
more
feel like
prepared.
record-wise, they were about the same last year, though, right? They were kind of, I don't know. It feels like the Chargers are always close to 500.
Well, I think they just missed the playoffs, right?
I can't remember.
No, I
That
don't.
was so long ago.
They didn't make the playoffs because I think the Raiders somehow made it in front of them.
That's right. They had that weird game, right, with like the timeout. Should they
Yeah.
have taken it? That kind of thing. Were we in Vegas at that game during that game?
Um.
Maybe not. I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't really remember
No, we couldn't have
exactly.
been because that was the Vegas game. So that was a stupid question. Because the Bengals were playing in Vegas the week that we were in Vegas because we went to watch the Bengals.
Right,
So
right,
of
right,
course
right,
they
right.
were not playing the Chargers. All
Wasn't it like
right.
the last week of the season or something like that?
I think it was the last week, which also makes way more sense than what I suggested here.
Right.
All right. So okay. So we're feeling good about the playoffs. You want to talk about game against the Bucks?
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like the big thing for me going into this game is I know Hendrickson hasn't been officially ruled out. I think it might be one of the situations that even if he's like going to be active, he's really not going to play. But I'm really interested to see how Osai fills in for him, because I don't know. I really feel like this would be a good time to see what he has, give him a little bit more snaps, and he performed really well in the preseason last year against the Bucks
Yeah.
when he got hurt. That was like his breakout game was in the preseason, and we had like those 3.5 sacks or whatever. But I feel like the Buccaneers, our offensive line's a little bit banged up.
Yeah.
They haven't really been playing
And we
well
know
the
all their
last
calls,
month.
right?
You would think. I'm sure Kappa, like I'm sure he's said a lot. But
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to or want to
I
see?
don't know. What do I want to see? What am
Or yeah, what's your expectations?
uh, I'm worried about it because Tom Brady, um, and you know, great players always seem to come up with something when they need to. So that kind of worries me. Um, what am I hoping to see? I'm hoping to see the torch passed. You know,
Yeah.
this be the game where Joe Burrow um, plays great and people talk about, you know, who's the next great quarterback in the NFL, and they start talking about Burrow. But that's what you hope for. But you really can't do that in the regular season. That's more of a, Super Bowl playoff kind of thing. But I think it's a big game because of the obviously because of the quarterback kind of matchup. How about yourself? We aside from Osai, seeing what he can do. I mean, what are your general thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be that how our defensive line handles their offensive line. I think that's really what's going to come down to. For me, like I don't, I feel weird saying this because like I don't have any impact in what actually happens or the actual outcome. But I don't want to be like overly confident. But I am going into this game pretty confident because I feel like this is a game where we should be in control the whole time. I feel like, to be fair, I feel like where it could be tough is that where the NFL is the toughest is when you have to play against a really desperate team, a team that's basically like fighting for their lives to make the playoffs. And I feel like Tampa is pretty much there because like I mean this is a year where they should have easily won the division, and the fact that they're 6-7,
They may
and
still easily win the division.
I wouldn't say easily because
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
they could still lose the division, and I feel like Carolina's trending in the right way, and I kind of feel like Saints could sneak in a weird way, But I mean, I still feel like Tampa overall should make it in, and I feel like the most confident that they will win in, but it shouldn't have been the way it is right now. So I feel like a lot's going on in Tampa right now, and I just get a sense that there isn't that team chemistry that you're used to seeing, even with like the Tampa Bay team that won the Super Bowl the first year that was in Tom, or even when Brady was in New Orleans, New England. Like the teams, like they just had each other's back. It felt like, right? Kind of like what our team feels like right now. You have that like that synergy. I don't see that with Tampa this year. So I think they will be fighting for their lives in the sense because they know like this game is really important. But I just feel like we're the better team, and I just hope that's what we show. But I mean, really, what it's going to come down to, like I said, is I just want to see our defensive line dominate. If they give Tom trouble, then I think it's going to be a fairly easy game.
Hmm.
I shouldn't say
Okay.
fairly easy, but I mean it should be one of those
Yeah.
games where we're in control, right?
Yeah. Do you
We're,
want to look at the odds?
sure.
All right. So I guess the 538 projector has the Bengals 63% win probability. Says they should be favored by 3.5. And DraftKings Sportsbook has the Bengals favored by 3.5. So, usually the home team's favored. So this matches with what you're saying. Over under is 44. So that implies like a 24-20 kind of game. Um, hmm. I don't know. This game scares me for the reason I was saying before. The other thing is, is Mike Evans hurt? Is he playing?
That I'm not sure. I would anticipate him playing, but even if he was, I'm
Yeah.
not really too worried about it.
I just don't like that matchup because the Bengals have a lot of short corners. He's a big, tall guy.
And I think traditionally Mike Evans has always played really well against the Bengals. Like ever
So
since he's been playing.
I just see this as kind of like
Possibly a
a
trap game. I can see that.
I wouldn't call it a trap game because I wouldn't think that anybody on the Bengals would think that you're playing Tom Brady and it's like a team you don't have to worry about. I just think that Tampa Bay is kind of
So
just dangerous. They're just a dangerous team because
listen,
they've got players that can hurt you,
I
right?
agree. It's the NFL, like any given Sunday, right? But
Hmm.
I was watching I guess on NFL YouTube or whatever they were playing like the sounds of the week.
Hmm.
So like last week, Tom Brady was yelling at his bench or whatever, but he was basically saying like, "Get up!" Like basically like, get your
You guys are
energy in
eating
it.
too many strawberries.
Well, it was just like like he was like yelling at him the basically. He's trying to inspire him. Like he wasn't like being like abrasive or anything. It was just one of those things where you're like, come on, like put your energy into it. But the fact that you have to tell that to your teammates is a bad sign. Like if you're a quarterback, that tells a lot to me that like there is, like I said, there just isn't that synergy. I don't think they're playing for each other. Like the fact that he's yelling that to them tells me a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean, I see what you're saying. It's reflected in their record, right?
Right.
But
Well, and to be fair, they had to
there's
deal with a lot of
still
injuries, and I still think there's like a
still
lingering
got
effect.
still has some playmakers at wide receiver.
For
They
sure.
still have a Hall of Fame quarterback. Offensive line is hurt. Um, I don't know. I mean, you look at the Bengals' strengths, right? I mean, seems like a similar team, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's going to be closer than we want it to be. Um, I think it may even be high scoring. So
That's kind of what I would expect if it's going to be anything. But
yeah,
what would be your score prediction then?
I'm trying to think of it in my head. I think it's going to be like a 27-24 kind of game. Maybe even like 30-27 kind of game.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and I mean the Bengals are hot, so I'm going to pick them to pull it out, but I don't think they're going to cover. So
Okay.
let's see. I said a few different things, so yeah, I'll do 27-24. Bengals with the win on the road.
So 27-24. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go 30-25. Bengals.
30-25.
Yeah.
Bengals? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Shoot. 30-25. Isn't that what you said this past week?
No, I thought I said 31 to like 28. No, 27. I made it slightly different than what you were going to say because I think you picked the same what I was going to pick.
Okay. So 30.
25.
30-25. Oh, that happens all the time.
I was going to say that felt like a good number.
Yeah, it's happened 6 times. Oh, wait, that's 31. 30-25. Happened twice. I think this is the same score you picked last week. Yeah, because if we go through this, let's see, Miami Dolphin. Yeah, because we were talking about like how did they get the score?
No, because
Right.
I felt like you picked like 30-27, so I did like 31-28.
Okay, yeah, no, this is different. No, Bubba Frank's pass from Brett Favre. I think this was. We'll have to review the film.
Okay, well either way,
Yeah,
well,
we talked
I'll
about
double
this
down.
already. Put it in the comments below. You guys we're trash. We always say the same thing.
But no, I think I feel like this past couple of weeks, either way, I think it's gonna be a good game. And like I said, I feel like with Joe Burrow, he just makes football fun again. Like we have a way to punch back, and it feels different than like the last decade.
For sure. It's just, you feel like if you have the ball at the end of the game and it's within a score, you're going to win.
If it's within a score, or if you're just up a score, like we're gonna win. Because
Well, if you're up, you feel like you're going to win no matter what.
well, yeah, but sometimes you don't have
You have the
confidence in
ball and
people
you're up.
to be able to like run the ball out or run the clock out. You know what I mean? Like
Well, but it's more like if the other team's only up by a score and you get the ball back, you feel like you're going to take it down
For
and get a
example,
touchdown.
like the way the Saints with Andy Dalton lost to was it the Saints or no? I'm sorry. Was
Close.
it to Tampa? I think they lost at the very last second. I think they did.
Oh,
That,
okay.
that was the
Yeah.
game that they came back at the very end. But
Hmm.
it's because like the problem is when like there's very little time on the clock and you're up a little bit. Like sometimes the play calling becomes too predictable. I don't know. It was just like for I guess the best way to put it is like when he converted that 3rd and 11 to
Hmm.
beat the Chiefs. Like that's just the perfect example of just like and that
Yeah.
is to beat him
It's
because like
kind
he
of
could run it.
that two play sequence is kind of like the difference, right?
Yeah,
Because we're used to seeing someone taking a sack when they shouldn't,
right.
and then the very next play he just threads the needle and gets the first down anyways because he's good enough to overcome not being perfect, right? Like that's the difference. Like sometimes, like some players, if you have a winning team, you need a quarterback that is so good that they can overcome mistakes. Like you can't rely on just playing perfect fundamental football going down the line. Don't make mistakes, right? Because it's just not possible to not have negative plays, right? It's not possible to avoid negative plays. It's easier to understand because there's no double or triple negative.
Right.
Uh, but when you have like a quarterback that is, you're trying to manage, like the quarterback's not a game manager. Really, like the coach is a game manager of the quarterback. They're trying to not put him in a position to lose the game for you. You just can't play perfect like that. You're eventually going to run into a bad luck play or something that was, like a mental mistake. They happen, right? And it's just the teams that win are the teams that have talented players that are good enough to overcome those kinds of mistakes. And with Burrow, you never feel like you never feel like you're out of it, right? You feel like if he has the ball and there's still a chance to win, that you feel more like the other team's worried that you're going to win than you are that it's not going to happen, right? And you
Yeah.
see that because teams are like going for it on fourth down. Like the Browns, they went for it on fourth down and didn't make it, right?
Yeah.
That's like a Joe Burrow. It's almost like an assist to the defense by Joe Burrow because
Yeah.
teams are saying
There's that
we
pressure.
can't we can't win games scoring field goals. If we get close enough to score, we need a touchdown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like if they were playing Andy Dalton, they would take the field goal and say, okay, you
Yeah.
know,
Feel really confident.
yeah, it's almost like they feel like they need a two-score lead in the fourth quarter to win.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're running that marathon. I guess it's hard for me to say because I never ran a marathon, but like when
No,
you're
no,
ahead of
let's
someone.
let's hear you talk about marathon running.
Sure. No, no, no. I'm just saying, like, I've seen it in the past where, like, you get to the end, right? And you just see that person behind you and
Hmm.
they're just, like, catching up or just putting that pressure. And it just doesn't seem like
Yeah,
no matter what you do, and they just, like, pass you. That's
yeah,
like Joe Burrow. He's just, like, just, if he keeps it close to the end, you just find a way to pass him. Just
yeah.
nothing they could do about it.
Nice. Hey man, I like your hat.
Yeah. It's a really nice hat. Thank you. It looks even
Dollar,
nicer on the
dollar,
camera, actually. I
bill,
like the
y'all.
way it.
Dollar bills, y'all.
All right, you want to end it?
Yeah, let's do it. All right.
Peace.
Have a good one, everybody.